So thanks again for coming, and for those of you that just walked in, my name is Jessie Schleba. I'm the Assistant Director for Graduate Admission here at Parsons, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit more about the details of our application process. We'll touch a little bit on the portfolio requirement. We'll also touch a little bit on scholarships and financial aid. But anything you don't see here is fair game. Hopefully I can at least give you, if not the answer, I can tell you who has the answer, which sometimes is just as valuable. Okay, so hopefully when you arrived, you all were questioning what is the new school, and hopefully somebody has answered this for you in your program presentations. But just in case, and that's still not clear, the new school is the name of the large research-based university that houses all of our different colleges. Of course, you're all here primarily because you're interested in Parsons, but the reason that we highlight our other colleges like Eugene or the College of Performing Arts, our new School of Social Research, and our School of Public Engagement, and our Parsons Paris location as well, is because this is really what makes us unique. We are by no means a standalone art college. And for those of you that have a lot of electives, how many of you are interested in design and technology? I feel like there was a lot of RSVPs for that. Okay, I'm sure that you noticed in the presentation, or if you've taken a look at the curriculum online, that there's an enormous amount of elective space for you. And of course, we have students who choose to use those electives within their school. We absolutely encourage students to think about ways that your major might overlap with some of our other colleges. So for example, our new School of Social Research, they house our philosophy department, our sociology department. We have students doing their PhDs in economics. We have an incredible heterodox economics program here. So there is wonderful potential for you to use some of your electives by dipping into some of these other schools. Our School of Public Engagement is another one I see a lot of recent overlap with. They have degree programs that are in organizational change management and sustainability management. So please know that we encourage our students to work with their faculty advisors and their academic advisors to see what other electives are available within the new school and plug those into your programs. So to give you the overall picture, we're looking at around 10,000 students. They, of course, come from all 50 states and 116 different countries. We have 134 different degree and diploma programs across our 5 colleges. And for those of you that may not know, we were founded right around 100 years ago by some really radical academics that were essentially really dissatisfied with how narrow and kind of conservative academia was at the time. So no matter which school you're in, you'll find that it's full of a bunch of provocateurs. Everybody is not interested in doing something in the more traditional way. We have a lot of outliers. We have a lot of really interesting faculty and students, and everybody across the board you'll find is very committed to social justice, and everybody is just very politically active. We are a very engaged university. And I heard a little bit of Joel's talk this morning where he explained that, of course, we have our different universities, we have our different colleges, but then we have schools within schools. And a lot of what we do this for is in order to build these communities so that you're able to have all of this different overlap. Another thing that I like to bring up now is how many of you have bachelor's degrees in completely unrelated, non-design related disciplines? Okay, that is a lot more of you than I thought. Now, for some of our master's programs, for example, our strategic design and management program, that one does not require a traditional design portfolio. However, for those that you see here that are studio-based programs, like our architecture, industrial design, communication design, design and tech, photography, they're really going to be looking, right, for both a related bachelor's degree and a portfolio. So for those of you that may have your bachelor's in political science, it's in comparative literature, perhaps you were studying finance before, but you would like to go in to a studio-based program, our AAS may be a better fit for you. That's really designed for those that are really going to be these more career changers. So just to clarify this, because I feel like this is a really important piece, and if you have any questions about whether or not you can apply for a master's degree or an AAS, please come to our admission table after and we can help help suss this out, because we do know that it is a little bit complicated, and many of you have often landed in these industries and you have very relevant experience already. And if that's the case and you can put together a portfolio, by all means continue to apply for the graduate program. So as I said, you do need to have a completed bachelor's degree. We're really looking for prior experience in art and design. It is also primarily full-time. There are only 2 exceptions to this, and that's our data visualization program and our history of design and curatorial studies. Those are the only 2 programs that allow for part-time study. That may change. Keep an eye on the website, but that's as it does exist now. We, of course, talked about the cross-disciplinary culture, and in terms of the timing, the vast majority of these master's programs are 2-year programs. We do have a couple that are just 1 year, and then we have others like our architecture and some of our dual and double programs within the School of Constructed Environments. These take 3 to 4 years, so we have a huge spectrum of the length of time. The AAS programs, which it sounds like a lot of you may be a better fit for, again, I do want to emphasize that though these are associate's programs, these are not designed for high school students. The vast majority of our AAS students are people who have previous bachelor's and often masters and PhDs. They've just decided that they want to switch gears. So if you're a career changer, definitely spend some more time with us. That is set up to accommodate more full-time and part-time students. So if you're really hoping to keep your current jobs and plug away little by little and take a class or 2 a semester, this is a much more feasible opportunity within our AAS programs. They also have a bit more opportunities for evening classes. And in terms of the timing, the average student completes this program in 3 to 4 semesters. And this will be determined essentially by your transcripts, which we will review. And at that point, you'll have a much better idea of exactly how long it would take. I'm not going to spend much time on these because you have all just come out of your program-specific sessions, so hopefully you learned about some of these. But because some of the names of these programs are so unique, there are a few that I do just want to highlight. And to let you know, we do have a couple of these dual programs. This is one of them. You are at the same time receiving a MArch degree and an MFA in lighting design. This is one of those that can take 3 to 4 years in length. I don't know how many of you are thinking about going back to grad school for 4 years, but if you are, please come and speak to me afterward. I would love to tell you a little bit more of that program. Our lighting design is also just quite unique in that we're one of the only lighting design programs in the world that really focuses on lighting for architectural spaces. Most lighting programs that are out there are really much more geared for stage and screen, and ours has a very architectural space focus. Interior design, I feel like, is very self-explanatory, but I do want to just highlight that's an AAS option for those of you with unrelated bachelor's degrees. Of course, our industrial design, these are our product designers. Communication design, MPS, I feel like you probably heard a little bit about this morning. Unfortunately, this program currently can only take domestic students and permanent residents. If you're an international student interested in this program, please see me afterward. Know that we're waiting for this visa restriction to be lifted and our fingers are crossed, but unfortunately at this time, we can't tell you exactly when that will come through. So please speak to me afterward if you have questions about that. We have our data visualization program, which is a really interesting program that brings together statistics and design and computer science. And this has really moved into a very interesting, expressive, creative field. And we're seeing a lot of growth in this department. It's one of the newer programs that we offer and is one that can be done part-time. I saw a lot of design in tech hands, so hopefully you were given a bit more information about some of the different areas of specialty, and know that the elective space that's in this program is not with an attempt to allow you to really take a taster and just of the buffet of classes. This is really about you being able to design a curriculum that's going to fit your goals. So we certainly have some students that are focusing in animation or game design or UX and UI, but you have a lot of freedom to build a curriculum to meet exactly what you want to do, which is amazing. Also, they do have a summer boot camp that I heard there were some questions being asked about. We have our fine arts MFA, and notice that this is not specific to painting or sculpture. We have a lot of multidisciplinary and installation artists that are doing this program. Photography, just know that you have a unique schedule and you begin in the summer. There's also a wonderful low residency option for you with this program. So many of you will go off to travel in the fall. But because of this unique summer term, if any of you are currently in school and interested in this program and you're not going to graduate by June, please come and see me afterwards so that we can talk a little bit more about the unique timing of this particular program. Graphic design is available only as an AAS degree, as I had mentioned previously. Our fashion design and society is often what gets Parsons' first attention from students. Of course, this is a very renowned program. Textiles is quite new and a really interesting hybrid. These students are going to have their feet both in the School of Fashion, but also in our School of Constructed Environments. There's so much exciting overlap happening with our industrial design, with our interior design programs. So it's a really exciting and new program. Fashion design is available as an AAS. We have a marketing and communication degree, our history of design and curatorial studies. This is, again, another that will see some elective space. Please consider taking a design studies or a curatorial studies program elective. This is different in that it's housed in our Cooper Hewitt Design Museum. So your classes are actually there with the curators in the space. It's a very hands-on, object-oriented program. Fashion studies is much more academic. Transdisciplinary design really is more service design. This is design for social impact. Our design and urban ecologies program, these are it's a very unique. It's not a top-down urban design program. They're working directly with communities to find out what problems exist and then how they can solve them. Theories of urban practice works really closely with design and urban ecologies. This is a new sort of an MBA, but within the creative arena, they're really looking at design strategy firms and what they're doing. They're applying design thinking to business models. And with that, we're going to move into what you're actually here to do. Please know that we also have this Parsons Paris location, but let's focus in a little bit more. Some of you went to your buildings, but just to give you a brief overview of where most of Parsons is housed, we live right in between Washington Square Park and Union Square. This is our concentrated campus. The vast majority of your classes are all going to be located here. One other note on the faculty, I feel like especially when students are coming from non-design backgrounds, it's a very common question of why aren't more of your faculty full-time, or why aren't there more tenured professors? And I feel like this is a question worthy of spending a minute to explain. And primarily, the reason we have such a robust adjunct faculty is because it's really important within the design industry that you remain connected to that industry. Okay, we want to make sure that you're working with the most updated software that's available. At no point do we want you to become disconnected from your field. So we have an incredibly devoted faculty, but all of them are keeping these connections with their industry in order that they can help connect you to them when you graduate. All of our classes are, of course, very, very small. You're looking at 10 to 15 maximum really in your class. So for those of you who came from a more larger lecture hall style undergraduate, this is going to be a drastic change. Every faculty is going to know your name. They're going to wonder where you are if you try to blow off class. This is going to be a very, very different model. In terms of the Making Center, has this been spoken at all about in your presentations? A little bit? Great. And I just love to highlight that it's one thing to say that we're a cross-disciplinary university, but it's another thing to actually create spaces that allow for these opportunities, right? For you all in these different majors to meet each other and potentially come together on projects, to find out about what you're doing and learn about the different ways that you might be able to work together. So the Making Center is something that is very much available to all students. Of course, it's really important that you learn how to use the equipment correctly, and there are certain facilities such as our knitting machines, for example, that are reserved for students in the classes, but a tremendous amount of this equipment is available to all new school students, which is just a tremendous resource for you. We also have 4,000 or so feet of exhibition space, and as you saw, we're really housed right in the village, so you have a lot of potential for visibility to show your work. These are just some of the more than 1,200 companies that are actively recruiting our students. You're going to see this happen in different ways throughout the year. There will be career fairs. There will be potential employers brought in. You'll be having people visit your classes. There's a lot of opportunity for connecting with some of these different many internships. And these are just some of the many partners that we work with through the year. Of course, the list of notable new schoolers you've probably taken a peek at. This continues to kind of boggle the minds of people. They're really all over the place, but you'll notice that everybody is really a provocateur. Everybody are just really committed to the idea of questioning the status quo. Okay, so that was about 15 minutes just to do the brief overview, and thank you for bearing with me through that. I do just feel like it's important. Sometimes you're a little bit, you're deciding between a few different majors, and sometimes it's just not really clear what one of them is. What exactly is transdisciplinary design? So now let's move into the application itself, because this is run a little bit differently at Parsons than other universities. Let's start with our deadlines. Our graduate students, you need to apply by January 1st, and that is rapidly approaching, as I'm sure you all know. And this does mean we want all of your materials by January 1st, okay? Not just starting one part of it. This means we need everything. All scores, all portfolios, everything should be in by January 1st. In terms of an expected timeline, know that we're going to notify you around mid-March whether or not you've been accepted. And this is very important. We do not have a spring term of entry like a lot of other universities do. So this is your shot, okay? You need to get everything in by Jan 1. Beyond that time, just know that we'll review them on a rolling basis based on space availability in the program. And if you ever have questions about that, I'll leave you with the admission email, and you'll have an idea of when that, of how to get in touch with somebody about that. Sorry, I have lost my screen here. Here we go. Okay, so these are the requirements, and again, you do not need to take extensive notes here. This is all on our website, but because some of this is a little tricky, I'm just going to briefly run through these. Know that your online application you can return to and save. With the transcripts, this is very important. If you remember one thing from this presentation, this should be it. We only need unofficial copies for the online application. You're going to scan these front and back. Okay, and we're going to only need unofficials. Do not mail us anything unless we reach out to you asking for it. Only for those students that are admitted and then choose to enroll, they will be submitting official transcripts the summer before they enroll. But for the application, we only need scans, okay? That's really gonna make this process a lot simpler. Of course, include a resume with all of your professional experience, and think about some of the other involvement you may have had for those of you coming right out of undergrad programs. Think about your volunteer work, any kind of clubs and organizations you are part of. All of that should really be captured in there. Your statement of purpose, think about this as a set. Your statement of purpose should really be thought of alongside your portfolio, okay? This should be kind of a narrative. Don't use it as an opportunity to simply recite what you just put on your resume. You should really be focusing in this statement of purpose on why you're a fit for the program, why you want them specifically, what drew you to the program. Use the available resources on the website. We put faculty bios on there for you. We put student work on there for you. So take a look at the work coming out of the program and what the faculty do, and use that essay as a chance to really show you've done your research about the program and you know what kind of contributions you're going to make to that program. Okay, so don't just give us a recitation of your resume. With your test scores, our minimum for TOEFL is a 92, and IELTS is a 7.0, and the PTE is 63. The GRE, everybody take a deep breath. Ready? You only need this if you're an architecture student. All the rest of you are off the hook. But please, if you're taking the GRE for any other programs you're applying to, if you get average scores or above, feel free to submit them, but you are in no way going to be penalized if you leave them off. Also, if you're an international student applying to the architecture program, please know that you do have the option. You do need to submit some scores. So if you're not submitting GRE scores, you can submit your TOEFL or IELTS for architecture, okay? Those of you that are US citizens, that are architecture students, you gotta take the GRE. I'm sorry, I apologize, it's necessary. Okay, 2 letters of recommendation, it's perfectly fine for these to be professional or academic. I get dozens of emails asking about this, so I'm going to mention it now. You're just going to give us their email in the application. We will reach out to them directly. They'll get an email from us, they'll fill out the rec, then it'll come back. If for any reason you're having issues, please contact us and we can have an alternative way for them to send these. But it's going to be to your benefit, right, to just include the email and know that we're going to reach out specifically. So try to do it that way. If any of you happen to have letters of recommendation people have already written for you, that's fine. You can upload those into the application as well. The portfolio is specific to major and is going to be done within Slide Room, so I'll get to that in just a minute. Please read your requirements very carefully. Some of them have academic writing samples. And one note on the interviews, this really varies by program. We have some programs that prefer to email or to interview every student, and we have other programs that don't hold interviews. So if you're not contacted for an interview, please don't panic. It could simply be that your program doesn't do them, or they're not doing them that year, because they felt like they got an accurate picture of you from your application. So nobody panic if you don't get an interview request. Okay, so the portfolio, and when I was talking about those unrelated bachelor's degrees, ultimately, here's what you need to know. You've got to demonstrate, right, that you have the skills needed. And to do this, you need to submit your portfolio in Slide Room. At the bottom, and I apologize that it's kind of obscured there, you'll see a parsonsgrad.slideroom.com. That's where you need to go to sign up for your account, to see exactly what you need to submit. And it's a really good idea, in my opinion, to just do this first, because when you submit a portfolio, you'll get a code that you'll need to put into our application. So this is going to be a great piece to start with. Go ahead and begin with your portfolio and just get that out of the way. Now, most of these portfolios do allow a range of media. So, for example, if you are interested in design and tech, that doesn't mean that you can't also include more of a fine arts piece or a sculpture, but just go and check program by program. These are optional for data viz, theories of urban practice, and strategic design and management. And for the MA programs, right, our fashion studies and history of design and curatorial studies, you're going to have a writing sample that we encourage you to submit. Strategic design and management, I feel like I see a few portfolios, but that portfolio can take on a lot of different forms, okay? So just know that if you're interested in that program, it is okay if you do not have a previous degree in design. For the AAS programs, it is very similar, but I do just want to highlight 2 things. One is that with your transcripts, we do need official copies, and for any of you that went to abroad universities, you have to do this important extra step of getting a WES evaluation. The rest of it is quite similar. You have a much more abbreviated creative assignment as opposed to a full portfolio. So if any of you want to study fashion design, but you have no fashion design experience, the AAS fashion design is perfect for you. The letters of recommendation are optional, especially if you have weaker GPAs. I would strongly advise you to submit a letter of recommendation. And these creative assignments, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is online as well, but just know that they are abbreviated and they are aware that you do not have a background in art and design. Your first bachelor's might be in environmental science, and that's going to inform your AAS and interior design in a super interesting way. One quick note on transfer credits, you do have an option to transfer in up to 30 max in some programs and 31 for others. But we'll do this individually and review your transcripts. We'll send you a very clear evaluation that details how things were able to come in, and at that point you'll be able to craft a picture of how long it's going to take you, either 3 semesters or 4 semesters to complete that program. Now, a quick note on financial aid. I know a lot of you probably have some very important burning questions about this, but please know that it's a very simple process. The students admitted to the new school are all considered for merit scholarships. You don't need to do anything. There's a part on the application that says, do you want to be considered for scholarships? And all you have to do is check yes. Why would you say no to free money? That wouldn't make sense. That's all you need to know. There's no separate applications for that. It is competitive, and it's based on the strength of the entire application. The amounts are going to vary by program, right? Ultimately, faculty are going to be making these decisions. And an important thing to know is that the scholarship award notification is communicated at the same time your admission letter is. So when you get an admission letter, right there it'll say your award is 20% or 40% of tuition is your scholarship. So you'll have that information. We of course understand that you're going to want to hear back from your other schools that you've been applying to before you make a commitment to us. So we ask for your deposits to hold your place around May 1st. Okay, so you have some time. You'll find out in March 15th. Wait to hear back from everyone. Look at your entire financial picture and then make your decision. This is another question that is probably in my top 5 of questions I'm always asked, and is that are international students eligible? Yes, we absolutely award merit scholarships to international students. And in case you missed this morning's session, more than 60% of our graduate student body is international. Okay? That is an amazing percentage. So these scholarships and these admissions, these are made blind, right? And by that, I simply mean they're not looking at your need, they're not looking at your passport, they're not looking at anything other than the merit of your application. And again, it's incredibly important to stick to that January 1st deadline to be the most competitive for scholarship consideration. One quick note to make about financial aid, you can go ahead right now if you would like. If you are a U.S. citizen or permanent resident and you want to see what the picture is going to look like for you in terms of any sort of loans, etc., please go ahead. You file your FAFSA. It becomes available on October 1st. So you can do that right now. You could do that today if you are feeling very motivated. And you can even file with previous tax returns. So ignore 2016, this could be 2017, and the priority deadlines are going to be February 1st for those of you coming this fall. Just know that tuition is a little bit complicated for a few programs. The vast majority of you, this full-time tuition number that you see here at the top, $49,844, woof, that is your tuition for the probably 80% of you that are here, okay? And again, this is all easily located by just Googling Parsons tuition. It'll take you right to the page you need to be at. Know that there are a few exceptions to this. Photography, you have a bit of a unique summer situation, so it ends up being around $46,000 per year. Strategic design and management and theories of urban practice, you have a significantly lower amount of credits that are required of you. You don't have as much elective space, so your tuition ends up being closer to $31,000 per year. And then, of course, for those of you that are interested in part-time, that's just going to be a per credit amount. Okay, so we can absolutely help you if you are a little bit confused about what on earth is my tuition going to be. Just please, you'll contact us in admission and we're happy to kind of walk you through that. And know that the AAS programs are very similar in terms of their tuition. It is slightly less. We do have on-campus housing that's available. We don't see it quite as frequently with our more mature student body, our AAS students and our grad students, but it is available if it's something that you would like to consider. And so a few application tips. How many of you came to National Portfolio Day? I definitely saw a few familiar faces. So this is one opportunity. Unfortunately, since this day has just passed, at this point, if you're really just doing your initial research for future terms, please stay on our mailing list and you'll receive reminders about Portfolio Day so that you can come and get feedback. I get a lot of emails every week with people just wanting to know, has everything arrived? Am I okay? Yes, you can check all of that in your admission hub. It'll let you know when the recommendations come through from your recommenders. You're welcome to contact the program directors if you have things that are more content-related questions, but anything related to transcripts, the application, if you start it, something crazy happens, and you need some help. If you have any questions related to admission or application, the best place to reach me, and I check this every day, thinkparsonsgrad@newschool.edu, or if you're interested in AAS, it's simply thinkparsonsaas@newschool.edu. There's a lot of different ways to stay connected with us. I do want to let you know, how many of you are local? How many of you are in the New York area? The vast majority of you are, and we do so much public programming. We bring in incredible lecturers, brilliant minds in all kinds of different arenas, and you are welcome to attend. A lot of these are free to the public, and the way that you find out about this is connecting to us on social media, and that very first email address of events.newschool.edu see what's happening in the fall that you might be able to attend. So I strongly encourage you to do that. Now, I did want to end a little bit early so that I could make sure I left a lot of time for questions. And please just know that everybody is there's gonna guarantee be someone else in here that has the same question as you. So what can I help with in terms of the question? Yes, in the red.
Strategic design and management.
Yes.
It doesn't require a portfolio, but it requires a program essay.
Yes.
What is that? Could you elaborate?
That's a great question. So the program essay is going to be a little bit different from the statement of purpose, and my best advice, since that's going to be updated every term, would be to go to the program website of Strategic Design and Management and see what the current prompt is. That's something that is updated constantly, but for any of you that have particular academic writing samples or any sort of prompts for extra essays, please, please, please check the website for the most accurate information. And come to the table afterwards. My laptop is there. I would rather just do it now, so it's not something you need to put off. We'll just make sure we get that question for you before you leave. Yes?
Could you sort of weigh the benefits to an academic versus a professional letter of recommendation?
Oh, there's certainly no advantage to one or the other. The reality is this. How many of you are currently in undergrad programs or recently graduated from them? Most of your references are going to be academic, right? A lot of you had great relationships with your teachers and they want to support your road to grad school. How many of you have been working for quite a while? Right. Those are your professional. There's absolutely no advantage to submitting one or the other. It's simply that we see a variety of backgrounds and we want to make space for both. But that's a great question. I would always say that go with who knows you best, who's going to be speaking to your talents, to your ability to work, to your contribution as a student. Who knows you best? Doesn't matter if it's academic or professional. Great question. Yes, in the back there.
I have a question. So I'm an international student.
Yes.
I did undergrad in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Would I need to take the TOEFL again?
Thank you very much for asking that question. Are there a lot of you in that scenario? You're international students? If you did your bachelor's here, we do not need your TOEFL or IELTS. You do need to have attended at least 3 of the years though. So it is a tricky if you did 2 years at your home institution and then transferred to a US school, we do still need your TOEFL then. But if you did 3 years of your bachelor's minimum at an English speaking institution anywhere, here in the UK and Australia, any of those, you do not need to submit a TOEFL or IELTS for the application. However, anyone who, on their application, they'll identify that English is their second language. There is still an internal English placement exam that you do before enrollment. And that's handled through a different office, but just know that that's simply a follow-up, but that happens after you'll receive your offer of admission. Yes?
So I went to the D&T breakout session.
Yes.
And the speaker Catherine spoke a lot about how the students in that discipline came from all different non-design backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
She mentioned English majors,
Mm-hmm.
gender studies, biology.
Yes.
But here you say that those
Sure.
who don't have design backgrounds should look at the AAS programs, but she had like conflicting information.
Sure. Let me give you a very clear example. Oftentimes, students have a totally unrelated bachelor's degree. However, they've been taking community education courses or continuing education courses, one-off courses at universities, especially in DT's scenario, they've often attended a boot camp, or they've just on their own begun to study things like UX and UI and these arenas. If you can put together the required portfolio and you have a bachelor's, by all means, you should be going ahead and applying. What generally happens, though, is I'll often have a student who says, I really want to do my, my MFA in industrial design, but I don't have anything I can submit for portfolio, and I've had no experience whatsoever. That student would not be able to apply to the graduate program. They would not be a competitive applicant. But if you have a portfolio that you can show, and you have developed, even if it's been on your own, if you have developed a skill set that's going to be relevant, and you're going to be a competitive applicant, then by all means you should apply. And this is going to be very unique, to each program. But I don't want to give you false hope if you think, oh, well, I've never even taken a design class. I can, do my MFA in fine arts. Like that, you're not going to be able to be a really competitive applicant unless you've got a resume that can show what you've done and a compelling portfolio. And usually you don't have those things unless you've had some sort of experience or education. I know this is muddy. I know this is gray. I hope that that helps clarify a little bit. What it comes down to is read the portfolio. If you've got it, go ahead and submit your application. Yes?
Sort of a go on that.
Mhm.
So I noticed that there's a interdisciplinary certificate program and an open campus
Yes.
program. So what's the essential difference between that and the
Thank you very much for asking that question. What he's referring to is open campus, and many of you may have been looking at these. These are entirely different. These are our continuing education programs and certificates. These do not carry credit. Okay, the vast majority of them do not carry any credit. The only exception under that is the Global Executive Program. But these interior design courses are going to be really interesting, and we encourage you to take them if you want to supplement. But these are not graduate level courses. These are not equivalent to a master's degree. But these are a great way to get familiar with some of the software, potentially maybe build some portfolio pieces. But Open Campus is open enrollment. Anyone can enroll in those, right? There's no application process where they're submitting transcripts, etc. Anyone can enroll in those, which is great, but those are continuing ed classes, not graduate classes. Thank you so much for asking that question. That's a little tricky. Yes?
Yeah, I have to go back to the TOEFL situation.
Okay, tell me, what's your TOEFL situation?
Yes, if you're an international, right?
Yes.
Your bachelor's in Europe, for example.
Yes?
But you live here and you worked here for a couple of years, you still have to do it, right?
You do.
Right.
I'm sorry, but you do. Yes?
Is there some sort of help aid in terms of working around students?
I'm so sorry.
Sorry, for the fees?
Are there separate fees?
Yeah.
No, all of our students pay the same. It does not matter what passport they hold. We are a private institution. This is, again, a great question. Some of the other institutions that you may be looking at, there's an in-state tuition and an out-of-state or an international. Ours is all the same. Students pay the same no matter where you're from. Great. Thank you for asking that. Yes.
How you doing?
Good.
If you're applying for the graduate studies program,
Yep.
can you apply to two different ones, or you apply for one program?
Great question. No, you cannot apply to two. You can only apply to one program. So what I would encourage you if you're going between two is you should be doing a few things. Looking at all the student work really closely. You should be reading those course descriptions. Every course in the curriculum, if you click on it, you can read the course description. But there's no better way to get a picture of what's happening in that program than just looking at the student work. See what comes out of it, and you'll see what feels more compelling to you and where you feel like you might be a better fit. Thanks for asking that. Only one application at a time. Yes?
What is your policy on deferring?
Ooh. We do not have deferrals. We do have something called reconsideration, which means if you are accepted and let's say you couldn't make the financing work or you just need to put it off for a year, it is not a deferral because you will have to officially be reviewed again. There's no guarantee that you would receive any sort of scholarship again. But there is a reconsideration process in terms of it may be a little bit simpler. We're able to kind of abbreviate the application process for the next year, but you have to be completely re-reviewed for both admission and for scholarship. Great question about deferrals. Yes?
This is specific to the strategic design and management.
Okay.
That has an online option.
Yes.
as well. Is it possible to say start here on campus and then if required convert to online?
That's a great question. Yes, it is possible. That is a 2-year program, but because that program of strategic design and management is available fully online, yes, you could start on campus, let's say do your first year and then move to an online scenario. But do know it is a little bit tricky for international students when it comes to trying to hybrid those. There's a lot of restrictions where you can only take one online class per term. The other 2 have to be on campus, so it's a little bit trickier for a hybrid, but going from one campus, on campus, to online is possible. Yes. Thank you for asking so many questions. Yes.
Are there other opportunities to classes that are more specific to certain departments?
That's a great question. My best answer to that would be to go to events.newschool.edu. Find out. Most of these have the kind of senior shows, type scenarios, right? They have a final thesis exhibition. This is the best way, right, to really get to interact with some of these students. And again, a lot of these events are going to be open to the public. So that would be my best advice for you. If you really want to get connected, also go through the alumni information, right? You know, check out the alumni on the blogs from these programs. Find out what they're doing. They could be giving public lectures elsewhere, and you could go and talk to them or try to direct message them. You can get as involved as you want. That's a great question. Start stalking our alumni and asking them questions. You can tell them it's my fault. Yes.
Are part-time students for those programs that allow it eligible for merit scholarships?
Yes, they are. They're just going to be prorated. Now, there are limitations. You generally need to be enrolled in at least 6 credits to receive scholarship information. But yes, let's say if you're just taking 2 classes, it is still possible to receive a prorated scholarship. And yes, for those of you that need to go, by all means, it is not rude if you want to leave, and the ones that have questions can stay. So please feel free. If you've got some things to do, places to be, we're so happy that you came to see us. What other questions remain? Yes.
You described the statement of purpose
Yes.
as like a narrative to your portfolio. Does your portfolio, is it just images, or can you add description?
Ooh, great question. Yes, you can absolutely. There's an area to add kind of captions. Also, when you're uploading things to SlideRoom, it doesn't have to just be PDFs, right? You can create spreads for some of your different projects. That's perfectly fine. But I would strongly encourage those of you where it makes sense to include short videos, video clips, please submit that instead if that's a better way of showing your work, especially for people working in multimedia or installation type capacities. I feel like video is a million times more accurate in terms of illustrating the project as opposed to some static photos that often have no people in the actual photos. You know what I mean? If you've created something we interact with, whatever makes sense to you, that's how you should capture that interaction and upload that. So there's different kinds of files that you can upload into SlideRoom.
Can you upload multiple videos?
Yes. As long as they meet there will be file restrictions in terms of size, but as long as you're meeting those, yes. Each program it'll say, 15 to 25 uploads, 15 to 25 pieces. Yes.
Is there a number of projects you recommend for having in a portfolio?
That's going to be specific to every single major, so it's too dangerous to say, but definitely parsonsgrad.slideroom.com. When you click on the individual major, it'll tell you exactly what the limit is. I would say, as a general guideline, most are going to be 15 to 25. I always feel like a smaller, tighter portfolio is the way to go. Don't just start uploading everything that you've done. Keep it super curated and tight. What else? Yes.
I have a question about additional materials
Yes.
for the strategic design management
Yes.
program. So let's say if you want to submit something that is not necessarily only your work, but your organization's work, how does that?
Excellent question. Yes, a lot of you are probably doing group projects, right? You can absolutely submit these. You're just going to make sure that you specify in your caption, or it could be right there on the page that you've created, the spread for that particular project. As long as you identify what your specific role was in the project, it's perfectly fine to include group projects. Great question. Yes.
What about projects that are
I know that's a heartbreaker, right? When you sign something that says you can't. I got a question about this just the other day, and my best advice was if you are under law, you're not supposed to be providing those images. It is to your discretion. I would advise you to perhaps think of an alternate way to address that project and perhaps use your statement of purpose as an opportunity to discuss that. Does that make sense, as opposed to putting any images out into the world that would make you feel uncomfortable? I would rather you simply address as broadly as you can or as appropriately as you can that particular project in the statement of purpose. That could be a really nice supplement. Yes.
Just a follow-up question.
Mm-hmm.
Are the parts of your application confidential, or at least like if we were to submit something that you're not necessarily under penalty of law, but it is
Correct. They're confidential.
Okay.
We're not giving those to anybody, and then once you enroll here, things are purged. Yes. Sure. Sure. well, know that we're not going to be sharing it with anyone, but if there's anything you're super concerned about, just erring on the side of caution, you're more than welcome to just address it in a verbal way as opposed to a visual way. Yes?
Just a question about admissions. How competitive is Hogan? Like, how many applicants do you get in, and how many people go into it?
That's a great question, and I can really only speak about this broadly because it's so individual by program. I can tell you that what I'm expecting this year is over 2,000 applications. That's around what we got last year, and in terms of the enrolled students, it's just under 500. Yes. Anything else? Thank you so much for sticking around today to ask all of these questions. I'm of course going to stay here for a minute, so you're welcome to come up and ask me any. I know there may be a few still questions that you just want to ask privately. I will be here to answer all of your questions as long as you keep me here. But thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate you coming out, and we'll do everything we can to get all of your questions answered. Have an amazing, beautiful day.